I never planned on this part of my life. If you asked my buddies at the firehouse, they'd tell you I was the textbook definition of a straight guy, beer in hand, football on the TV, cracking jokes about who had the worst luck with women. And most of it was true. I liked women. I wanted the wife, the kids, the house with the picket fence. But there was something else. Something I never talked about. It wasn't a need, more like a craving. Every now and then, I wanted to be on my knees. Not for love, not for anything emotional, just for the feeling of it, the power of it, the reaction it got. And then, just as quickly, I'd go back to my normal life like nothing happened. It wasn't something I went looking for, but when the opportunity showed up, I didn't say no. That's how it happened that night. We got a call about a possible gas leak in a residential neighborhood. A strong smell of gas had been reported coming from a duplex. Standard protocol: check for danger, air out the house, shut off the supply if necessary. Nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. I was expecting just another routine call. Then I saw him. He was standing outside when we pulled up, arms crossed, watching us work. Early 20s, sharp jawline, built like an athlete. But what really caught my attention? The gray sweatpants. Now, let me be clear. I wasn't looking. It wasn't like I walked into a scene and started checking guys out. But when something is impossible to not notice, well, that's a different story. And damn, did I notice. I kept my focus on the job, but my mind? It was already drifting. We went through the standard motions: windows open, doors propped, gas shut off outside. No explosion risk, no leaks that needed repairs. Just another false alarm. Should have been a quick in and out situation. But I wasn't ready to leave just yet. I found a way to linger. Took my time wiping the sweat off my forehead, stretching my arms a little more than necessary. Then, just to make sure he got a show, I made a point of getting my shirt dirty. A little soot, a little grime, just enough so I had an excuse to pull it off before heading back to the truck. And when I did, I caught him staring. He tried to play it off, looking away like it didn't happen. But I knew better. I knew that look. That was all I needed. I walked over, still holding my dirty shirt in one hand, and played it cool. "Hey, man. We should hang out sometime," I said, handing him my number like it was nothing. Like I wasn't already picturing exactly how this was gonna go. Not even 20 minutes after leaving the scene, my phone buzzed. Him: "Yo, you still down to hang?" I smirked. Yeah. I was down. When my phone buzzed, I already knew who it was before I even checked. I'd been waiting for it. Guys like him, the ones who sneak glances but try to act like they aren't looking, they always take the bait. He might not have said a word back at the house, but his eyes did all the talking. And when someone looks at me like that, I know exactly where things are headed. Him: "Yo, you still down to hang?" I smirked, leaning back on my couch, phone in hand. I liked when they made the first move. Made it feel more like their decision, even though we both knew I was the one pulling the strings. Me: "Yeah, man. Where you wanna go?" He suggested a bar downtown, not one of those loud, sweaty clubs, but a laid-back spot where you could actually have a conversation. I liked that. It meant he wasn't just looking for small talk over drinks. He wanted to feel this out. Test the waters. And I was more than happy to let him. I threw on a fitted black tee, tight enough to show off what I wanted, loose enough to keep it casual. The whole time I was getting ready, I kept thinking about those damn sweatpants. What he was packing underneath. It was rare that I went after the same thing twice. One and done. That was my rule. But something about this guy. I already had a feeling once wouldn't be enough.
I wasn't sure what to think when he handed me his number. I mean, come on, firefighters don't usually do that. Straight firefighters, especially. And this guy? He was textbook straight. The way he talked, the way he carried himself. The way he took his time pulling off that dirty shirt, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like he wasn't checking to see if I was watching. But I was. I wasn't stupid. I knew what was happening, even if he wouldn't come out and say it. Guys like him never say it. They don't need to. When I texted, I expected a wait, a few hours, maybe even the next day. Instead, my phone lit up almost immediately. Mike, yeah, man. Where you wanna go? That's when I knew. This wasn't just some casual hangout. It was already happening. I picked a bar I liked, chill, low-key, not the kind of place where you'd run into half the town. If this guy was who I thought he was, he'd want somewhere discreet. Somewhere he could slip in and out of without too many questions. When I walked in, I spotted him instantly. Mike. The same confident stance, the same easy smile. But now, I could see something else. Something in the way he looked at me. Hunger. I didn't know if he was nervous or just playing it cool, but I wasn't gonna waste time dancing around it. I grabbed a drink, sat down across from him, and leaned in with a smirk. So, I said, you always give your number to guys on gas leak calls, or am I just special? He laughed. And just like that, I knew how this night was gonna end.
I should have walked away. That's what I always did, one time, no attachments. A simple, that was fun, and back to real life. Back to the life where I was straight, where I had a plan. A wife, kids, a normal future. But here I was, standing outside in a dimly lit alley, my heart hammering in my chest. Brandon leaned against the brick wall, his breath visible in the cool night air. He looked at me like he was daring me to make the next move. Like he already knew I was going to. Because, honestly, so did I. He smirked. Didn't take you for the type to slip out the back door. I chuckled, rubbing the back of my neck. Yeah, well. I don't do this kind of thing often. Not a lie. Not exactly. Brandon raised an eyebrow. Oh yeah? He took a slow step toward me, closing the distance. Because from where I'm standing, you seem pretty damn comfortable. I swallowed hard. He was right. I was comfortable. Too comfortable. Too into this. But it wasn't just him. It was the whole thing. The secrecy, the thrill, the way it made me feel alive in a way nothing else did. My eyes drifted down to his lips, full, slightly parted. I knew what he wanted. Hell, I knew what we both wanted. And the second I dropped to my knees, I stopped pretending.
I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe for him to hesitate, to overthink it. Maybe for him to change his mind at the last second. But Mike? He was all in. No awkward pauses, no second guessing. The way he touched me, the way he moved, it wasn't just about doing the thing. It was about enjoying it. About seeing the look on my face and knowing he was the reason for it. And damn. He was good. Better than good. I'd had plenty of experiences before, but this was different. The way he took his time, the way he was completely into it, like it was something he needed to do. Like he'd been waiting for this. By the time it was over, I was gripping the brick wall just to keep my balance, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Holy sh! I stopped myself, exhaling sharply. I ran a hand through my hair, still trying to process what just happened. Mike wiped his mouth, looking up at me with that same cocky smirk from earlier. Like he knew exactly what he just did. Good, he asked, like he didn't already know the answer. I let out a breathless laugh. Dude. Not even my girlfriend ever made it feel like that. For a split second, something flickered in his eyes. But just as fast, it was gone. He got to his feet, dusted himself off like this was just another routine call. Like he hadn't just wrecked me in the best way possible. I wanted to say something, anything, but before I could, he clapped a hand on my shoulder and grinned. "Well," he said, "guess that's that." And just like that, he turned to leave. I watched him walk off, hands in his pockets, shoulders loose. Like this was just another night. But me? I already knew. This wasn't over.
I should have felt relieved. That was the deal I made with myself every time, one time and done. No attachments, no second rounds, no complications. Just a moment of indulgence before stepping back into the life I was supposed to be living. But as I walked away from that alley, hands in my pockets, trying to act like nothing had happened, I didn't feel relieved. I felt restless. I could still feel the weight of Brandon's eyes on me, like he was expecting me to turn around. I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I kept walking, letting the cool night air settle over me, trying to clear my head. But it was no use. My pulse was still racing, my body still buzzing, and I couldn't shake the thought that I might have made a mistake. Not because of what we did, but because I already wanted to do it again.
I thought about texting him. The second I got back inside the bar, I pulled out my phone, staring at the number he gave me. The firefighter. The guy who had just given me the best head of my life like it was nothing. I should have felt lucky. I should have just let it be a wild story to tell my friends one day. But instead, all I could think about was how fast he walked away. Like he was trying to outrun something. Like he was trying to outrun me. I wasn't dumb, I knew his type. The kind of guy who had convinced himself he was straight because he only did one thing. The kind who told himself it didn't mean anything if it was just physical. But the way he looked at me, the way he wanted to impress me, the way he took his time, like it was just as much for him as it was for me, that wasn't just physical. And the fact that he bolted right after? He felt it too. I exhaled, rolling my drink between my hands. If I texted him now, what would he do? Would he ignore it? Would he tell me it was a one-time thing? Would he pretend he didn't enjoy it as much as I knew he did? I smirked to myself. Didn't matter. Because something told me, this wasn't over.
I told myself I wasn't going to think about it. I had rules. One time. No repeats. No attachments. It kept things simple. Clean. It meant I wasn't really doing anything wrong. But here I was, sitting in my truck outside the firehouse 2 nights later, staring at my phone. Brandon's number was right there. I hadn't saved it, but I didn't need to. I knew the last 4 digits by heart already. I wasn't gonna text him. I wasn't. But damn, I wanted to. I tapped my fingers against the steering wheel, jaw tight. That night in the alley kept playing in my head. The way he looked at me afterward, like he knew me. Like he could see the part of me I spent years locking away. He wasn't supposed to look at me like that. It was supposed to be simple. One time. No repeats. So why the hell couldn't I let it go?
2 days. It had been 2 days since the alley, and I still hadn't heard from him. I wasn't surprised. Guys like Mike didn't reach out first. Guys like Mike spent the whole next day convincing themselves it never happened, only to spend the night wanting it to happen again. I knew he'd cave. The only question was how long it would take. And the longer he waited, the more I wanted to be the one to push him over the edge. I picked up my phone and typed out a message. Yo. You around? Simple. Direct. Nothing that could make him panic. I hovered over the send button for a second, debating if I should add something else. Something to let him know I knew he'd been thinking about it just as much as I had. But I didn't. I hit send. And I waited.